Khamenei dead, Xi Jinping shaken to the core. Hello everyone, welcome to Inconvenient Truth. I'm your host, Jennifer Zeng. What do the US and Iranian military strikes on Iran mean for the Chinese Communist Party and Xi Jinping? What impact will they bring? Many people are asking these questions. Today, we will talk about this issue. I believe the changes in Iran will affect the CCP in many ways. It is well known that replacing the US and dominating the world is the CCP's long-term goal. Iran is the CCP's most important ally in the Middle East. It is also a key part of the CCP's so-called elimination plan. Simply put, the ignition plan means the CCP wants to start and maintain conflicts in many parts of the world. It wants to create multiple crisis areas to keep the United States too busy to respond. For this reason, the CCP has directly supported terrorist groups such as Hamas. Iran has long been the main supporter of many terrorist groups. Removing this regime in the Middle East is a serious blow to the CCP's global strategy. Last September, many Chinese media outlets proudly reported Middle East arms shift. Iran introduces the Hongqi 9B for the first time. They said Iran became the third Middle Eastern country after Qatar and Egypt to use this system. They claim the Hongqi 9B had formed an anti-stealth defense line in this region. They said when Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Iran all chose China's air defense system, it showed Washington's monopoly was broken. Beijing was becoming the new security provider. In the coming years, the attack and the defense confrontation between Hongqi 9B and F-35 may become the norm in the Middle East sky. However, during the recent US and Iranian strikes on Iran and during the US operation to capture Maduro in January, the CCP's defense system were useless against the US military. The so-called great power weapons that look impressive in military parades have become a joke. According to ED Securities, China imports about 99% of Iran's oil exports. This equals about 13% of China's seaborne crude oil imports in 2025. In 2024, about 90% of Iran's sanctioned oil was sold to China. Half of Iran's government revenue came from China. If the Iranian oil supply is cut off, the CCP will suffer the most. It will lose a source of cheap oil. In addition, China and Iran signed a comprehensive strategic partnership. Iran is also an important part of the CCP's Belt and Road Initiative. The CCP promised to invest $400 billion in Iran over 25 years. Reports say China has already invested over $100 billion in Iran's energy and infrastructure projects. Then, as the military strikes continue, these investments will likely all go down the drain. Xi Jinping often says that the 1 billion Chinese people are the CCP's still Great Wall. The CCP has long used the people as shields. In the civil war with the Kuomintang before it seized power, the CCP had a history of forcing civilians to lead the way for soldiers. This made Kuomintang soldiers unwilling to shoot. However, in front of U.S. precise elimination of leaders, the CCP loses the barrier of using 1.4 billion Chinese people as its flesh and blood Great War. Xi Jinping and top CCP leaders now have to face U.S. precise decapitation strikes with their own bodies. The psychological deterrence to Xi Jinping at the CCP high level is very obvious. Shortly after Maduro was captured in January, Xi Jinping purged Central Military Commission Vice Chairman Zhang Youxia and Central Military Commission Joint Staff Department Chief of Staff Liu Zhenli. This left only 2 people in a 7-person Central Military Commission. If there's something to vote on in a meeting, it cannot reach a majority vote. Although reasons for capturing Zhang Youxia are varied, before becoming Central Military Commission Vice Chairman, Zhang Youxia served as Minister of the People's Liberation Army General Armament Department and Minister of Central Military Commission Equipment Development Department. So, if his arrest related to Xi Jinping is his arrest related to Xi Jinping discovering that CCP developed military equipment is totally unqualified and becomes a declaration in front of the US? We cannot rule out this factor. In fact, after capturing Zhang Youxia, China's political situation faced a major crisis. Some say this impact on the CCP is bigger than Lin Biao's defection during the Cultural Revolution, who was designated as Mao Zedong's successor. From various sides, Xi Jinping's decision to arrest Zhang Youxia is facing soft resistance from the military and the party government sides. Up to now, the news of investing Zhang Youxia has been announced for over a month. No war zone or army group has come out to state support for Xi Jinping's capture of Zhang Youxia. This means the military is in soft resistance. At the same time, the CCP National People's Congress (NPC) Standing Committee held 2 meetings in February. One was a temporarily added emergency meeting. The outside world generally expected that this meeting was urgently held to cancel Zhang Youxia and Liu Zhenli's NPC deputy qualifications. According to the CCP's own laws, NPC deputies may not be arrested, placed under criminal detention, or prosecuted during their term of office without permission. So, if their NPC deputy qualifications are not cancelled, they cannot be transferred to judicial procession. But the 2 standing committee meetings did not announce the cancellation of Zhang Youxia and Liu Zhenli's NPC deputy qualifications. This likely means Xi Jinping also encountered soft resistance in the NPC system. If the in the CCP's political context, although it always says the party commands the gun, in fact, it is often the gun commands the party. Therefore, a party leader who cannot handle the military undoubtedly faces a huge crisis. Before this year's Chinese New Year, there was a jaw-dropping scene. Xi Jinping no longer visited troops in person as before. Instead, he talked to officers and soldiers of various troops through a video link in the building. From this photo of him talking to troops via video in the building, we can see Xi Jinping's situation in the military. Besides him are only the newly promoted Central Military Commission Vice Chairman Zhang Shengming and Defense Minister Dong Jun. Other military personnel are sitting far from Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping has truly become a lonely man with no one to rely on. At the moment when the internal power structure is extremely fragile, what chain reaction were big changes in the external international environment trigger in China? In fact, messages from inside the CCP say the impact of Khamenei's death is no less than any international event in the past 20 years. The timing is right after Zhang Youxia and Liu Zhenli were captured, when military morale is shaken. Now the CCP feels most that the public takes a chance to vent dissatisfaction, and the military internally takes the chance to disobey commands. Multiple people close to the CCP military system reveal that high level has required political work departments in various war zones to increase thought report frequency. Grassroots units need to regularly report officers and soldiers discussing on the Middle East situation. The focus is to prevent discussions associated with regime change. Main officers ask grassroots officers and soldiers one by one about their view on the Iran situation. Meetings emphasize not to discuss related topics in private WeChat groups or moments. Violators will be handled as political discipline problems. On China's social media, content involving discussion on leaders attacked, military choices, and regime change has been limited. They will automatically trigger manual review. Some accounts are temporarily muted for posting related comments. Another informed person reveals that the CCP high level has intensively studied the situation for days. Meeting frequency obviously increased. Related departments entered the risk screening state. Internal discussions focus not on battlefield progress, but whether Iran's power structure loosens and what impact this change will have on Beijing's existing layout in the Middle East. What the CCP's highest authority truly worries about is not the economic impact, but its political chain reaction. A CCP insider says in recent months, the CCP foreign ministry kept close communication with Russia on Iran issues. Politburo Standing Committee members met multiple times to discuss the Middle East situation. The Standing Committee reminded high-level officials to learn lessons from the former Soviet Communist Party's collapse. Pay attention to the impact that anti-government protests in Iran may have on the Chinese people's thoughts. In addition, after Khamenei's death, the CCP leaders required the foreign ministry, the commerce system, and the security departments to submit risk assessment reports, focus on Iran's military attitude, power handover arrangements, and neighboring countries' reactions, etc. The precise elimination of Iran's high-level officials also bring another issue to the fore. That is, Iran has made a series of plans for Khamenei's death. For example, in a very short time, a temporary leading group was formed. The Revolutionary Guards were divided into dozens of units that could fight independently. Even before the war, they pre-designated how these independent units should respond once the war started. This is why Iran attacked some neighboring countries that did not participate in this military action at all in the first 2 days. This is not a reaction after being attacked by these countries, but carried out according to established instructions. Under these circumstances, the issue that Xi Jinping has not designated a successor for himself will naturally come to the fore again. In fact, sources say that the conflicts between Xi Jinping, Zhang Youxia, and other CCP elders are over the issue of Xi Jinping's successor. More and more signs show Xi Jinping wants to imitate North Korea, turn China into a Xi family dynasty, let his own descendant succeed. Later, I may do another program to talk about this specifically. Establishing the Xi family dynasty, of course, means that from now on, other CCP families that were equal to or even higher than the Xi family will become the Xi family's house slaves. This will inevitably cause dissatisfaction from other CCP top families. In a sense, Xi Jinping has declared war on the CCP's original system. At this critical moment of life and death, Khamenei's death undoubtedly gives other CCP forces that wanted to challenge Xi Jinping, who has not yet established the Xi family dynasty, an opportunity. For the CCP, the bigger problem is, will the US stop at eliminating the Khamenei regime? Although Trump often says Xi Jinping is my good friend, since his second term began, he has taken actions that hurt the CCP's global position. These include regaining control of the Panama Canal, striking drug networks linked to the CCP capital in Southeast Asia, capturing Maduro, and signaling control over Cuba. All this, including the ongoing military strikes on Iran, none is not a heavy blow to the CCP. The CCP from very early on has regarded the US as its ultimate enemy. In the past decades, many things it did globally, many unrestricted warfare layouts it made, are all preparations for the final confrontation with the US. Whether Trump started preparing for the final confrontation with the CCP because he already realized this, or just acted on instinct, the reality is that the CCP's international environment is rapidly deteriorating. Many of its previous layouts are also failing. Trump once said that he told Xi Jinping he would bomb Beijing if China invaded Taiwan. When he said this, many people did not take it too seriously. But after the capture of Maduro and the current precise strikes of Iran's high-level leadership, I think at least the CCP will no longer treat Trump's words of bombing Beijing as just a joke. In 2023, the US also published a very long report It marked all CCP rocket force bases, brigades positions, missile types, and other very detailed information. Xi Jinping's big purge of the rocket force almost happened at the same time as this report release. It is imaginable that if a hot war occurs between the CCP and the US, besides the precise elimination of the CCP's leaders, the US should have the ability to carry out fatal strikes on CCP's important military targets in a short time. In fact, the Taiwan media is now discussing whether the CCP will remove the surveillance cameras all over the country after the Iran incident, because reports say Israel invaded Iran's domestic traffic surveillance system. This way, they grasped the whereabouts of Iran's high-level leaders. So, the CCP's current surveillance camera network used to monitor the people may become a tool that exposes leaders' whereabouts and can be used by the US. Therefore, the Taiwan media started discussing whether the CCP will dismantle these surveillance cameras. So, the US military action on Iran may also make Xi Jinping reconsider whether to use force to attack Taiwan. In short, I think no matter how dazzling the current world situation is, there is only one main theme. That is the confrontation between the free world and the evil communism and terrorism represented by the CCP. And the result of this confrontation will surely end with the complete failure of the evil side. Well, that's all for today. Please share this video, subscribe to my channel, follow me on X, or visit my website at jenniferzengblog.com to become a member or make a donation. This is a fast-changing and unpredictable world, and I will do my best to bring you the latest information and analysis that the legacy mainstream media does not cover. Thank you. See you next time.